Hello everyone, this is your very first math lesson for it's Unit 7, Lesson 5. Our goal for this is I can build, draw, name, describe, sort, and classify polygons by their characteristics. So you're going to see that this is a lesson that we've already done in class, but just to kind of get us back on track again, we thought it'd be kind of nice just to start it with some stuff that we've already done. But if you remember, one of the things we talked about with characteristics, characteristics are like the sides of a shape, vertices, the angles, and the lengths. And remember, when I talk about like a polygon is a shape. And when I talk about like a poly, remember poly really just means many. So it's just a many-sided shape. If you have your math book there in front of you, you can open it too if you want to, but it'd probably be just easier just to look what I'm doing. But so the first part I'm going to talk about are just types of lines. Now I'm going to start right over here. Watch that laser pointer, looking at what a parallel lines are. So if you remember, a parallel line, so you can either have lines or line segments. So a line is a line that can go in either direction forever. You can always tell because it has those arrows right there. You can kind of tell that's like the arrow. And those two lines will never touch. A line segment is just a piece of a line, and you can tell it's a line segment because it just has these dots at the end. But again, it's either a line or line segments that just will never ever touch. And so those are called parallel. And if you remember that trick I talked about in class, the word parallel has two L's right next to each other. That kind of gives you that hint. Oh yeah, those are parallel. That's what a parallel line means. The other type of line that we were talking about are intersecting or perpendicular. So these two lines, line segments are a perfect example of line segments. Line segments that intersect. They are lines that have endpoints, these endpoints right here, but these lines just cross each other, so that's called intersecting. Right above them, these are lines that aren't touching right now, but if I was going to keep drawing these lines, eventually they would touch, so that's called intersecting. Same thing with these lines right here. These lines, if I were to keep drawing these lines, they will touch. They won't touch going that way, but they'll touch right over here, so that means they're intersecting. Perpendicular are those special lines that they touch, but they also form those, anybody, right angles. And that remember I kept on calling these like our perfect book corners. If you take like a book, you can fit it in that spot. That's a 90-degree right angle. And so perpendicular lines can have this. I'm going to go to the next page, but I'll come back. So perpendicular lines can look like this, as long as they have that right angle right there. They can look like this. There's a right angle right there, right angle right there. I should go back over there. There's a right angle. So really it can be just any of those kinds of lines where you have right angles when they meet. So those are the kind of lines that we have there. On your math book page, you're going to see where it says write a description of parallel lines. So you can use the definition right here, you can use anything I'm talking about, but really parallel lines are lines that just never touch. Below this, then, are a little bit more description of what perpendicular lines are. And so I have that box right there of all the different examples of perpendicular lines. They compare it to this. These are intersecting, so they don't have the word intersecting, but intersecting are these ones. They touch, but they don't have those 90-degree angles like right there for perpendicular. So on your workbook page, when you send it to Notability, again, just what are perpendicular lines? Well, really it's lines that touch that also form 90-degree angles. On the next page, it's going to be talking about it's going to be talking about more types of angles, and just really what is an angle. Another type of line though, so we had, going to go here, So we have a line, a line is a line with those two arrows on the two sides. That's a line. We have a line segment. That's with two endpoints. So a line segment is just a piece of a line. And this last one, which you'll want to go back, is a ray. And we kind of talked about this. It's like a ray of light. It starts at one point, and then it goes off in one direction forever. So you have the starting point, and then it goes on. You can compare that to a line where it goes in both directions forever. A ray just goes in one direction. And a ray can go the other way too. I start my endpoint here, and it goes in the opposite way. Or the ray starts here, and it goes up. It doesn't matter. But that's what a ray is. It goes off, and it goes in forever in just one direction. You can also then form two line segments or two lines to form an angle. And so right here, this is one of the angles right there. That's just, it's the distance apart from one line to the other line. It's basically how far is the opening. If you remember, I used a book. I just picked up a book and I used that for an example, like how far am I opening the book up. So you can imagine this is a cover. That's one of the covers. You just open in the book. So then you can have right there, that right angle, that perfect book corner, that 90-degree angle. I keep saying 90 degrees. If you remember, we talked about vertices, and just when you look at a polygon or a shape, basically that corner, when you have just one, it's called a vertex. When you have many, more than one, two or more, then you have vertices. And just there's another right angle, but really any of these parts, that's a vertex, that's a vertex, just any of those, basically a corner. Then we talked about how you can have some angles are smaller than 90. Remember, a cute little angle, or you can have an obtuse angle. Acute, smaller than 90, obtuse, larger than 90. And so that's just in there. It says in your page, some angles are smaller than a right angle, some angles are larger than a right angle. Acute for small, obtuse for big. And you're going to see in your workbook page then, you have to figure out kind of like where these angles would go. So these angles are named with a letter in the corner. So this is angle V, angle W, angle X, angle Y, and angle Z. Question 3 says, which of the angles are right angles? So you have to try to figure out, and remember, there's a little hint, right angles always have this symbol right there to show kind of that perfect book corner 90-degree angle. And you would just write the letter. Like, so for example, if you think X is a right angle, you write X in that spot. It's not. But question 4, which of the angles are smaller than a right angle? So I have to try to think, is V smaller? And this is where you can always use a book kind of corner to like just kind of measure and like kind of try to figure out if I can fit the book corner in there easily, like with V, that is way larger, way bigger than a right angle. So I would not put V. If I put V there, that's wrong. That is larger than a smaller angle. And then question number 5 is, which of the angles are larger than a right angle? So I have to try to figure that out for that page.